time now for perspective, and we're taking a look at the world's most precious resource, water. We may be surrounded by it, but less than 1% of the Earth's supply is fit for human consumption. And in many countries, the quest for and reliance on water often inhibits the lives of women particularly. Our guest today is Mariet Verhoef-Cohen, president of the NGO Sir Optimist International, a network that comprises some 95,000 women worldwide with permanent representation in the UN. Now, you're also president of the Women for Water Partnership. Now, thank you for joining us. My first question is, you're in Paris for the UNESCO Water Conference to promote a gender-responsive approach to achieve water security. First of all, what exactly is water security?
Well, water security is that everyone has access to water, to safe drinking water and sanitation, because quite often we forget sanitation. But if we don't have clean sanitation, we will not have water security. And that is a big issue, and that affects women mainly. And both my organizations, Sir Optimist International and Women for Water, focus on women, on the gender equality and on the water perspective.
Now, so obtaining and managing drinking water presents a raft of challenges for women in particular. You've talked about multi-dimensional inequalities when it comes to rural locations, women living in rural locations. Could you explain that as a concept, multi-dimensional inequalities for women? What is that?
Yes. Well, one of the main things is that women still have to fetch the water. So the UN just came with a report, United Nations, that 200 million hours a day women have to fetch, women and girls of course, have to fetch water. And those 200 million hours you cannot spend on education, on economic development, on jobs and improve their lifestyle. So that is really the main importance. I mean, if we could get clean drinking water, if we could make sure that women are involved in the safe drinking water, in making the decisions, in being at the designing table on what is being developed, if women are really used as agents of change, as active partners and active involved in changing the situation, I think we will be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 5 and 6, because 5 is gender equality and the empowerment of women, and 6 is safe drinking water for all and sanitation. And also, don't forget that the sanitation part, if people are ill, who's taking care of them? 1/3 of all the schools still don't have sanitation. How can girls go to school if there's no sanitation? That's all, sort of everything is linked together. And that is, well, I think very multidimensional. And
why is it that women are so vulnerable to lack of fresh water, lack of sanitation, as opposed to men? I mean, it's a problem that faces human beings alike, but why
Yes.
women so much more vulnerable?
Because women really have to deal with it. I mean, they fetch the water. If the water is not clean, their families have to really be ill because of that. And I think women are very vulnerable because they bathe, they cook, everything they do is with water, and they are experts. I mean, they have a lot of knowledge, and that is not always seen, that the women have the knowledge as well, so they can be involved. It's not a matter of taking over roles, but it's really involving both men and women into this sector. And if we don't listen to women, if we don't say, okay, we're going to make, I don't know, a water wheel, but if you don't ask the women if they can actually reach it, for instance, a simple example, then it's not sufficient, and it's not working for both. So women are really very much involved and should be treated as equals.
Why do you think governments haven't taken on board a sort of gender-responsive approach to this problem?
I think mainly the water issues up to now have been seen as something very technical, and of course women are not perceived as being technical. So I mean, if we look at the water sector, worldwide only 17% of women work in the water sector, and that is because it's fairly male-dominated, and I think women can be involved and have knowledge, so use that knowledge. And I think at this moment women are more going into technical professions, so we have to find them and we have to get them involved and see a way, make a way to work together.
Now, just as a final question, you mentioned earlier the UN sustainability goals, number 5 and 6.
Yes.
Now, the UN wants universal and equitable access to water by 2030, so that's in the next 10 years. Yeah. Do you think this is actually achievable? I mean, we're seeing the effects of climate change, what some argue are the effects of climate change. Do you think that, you know, things won't actually worsen for men and women alike in the next 10 years?
Oh, it will, it will. One of the big issues, of course, is the water scarcity. I think in 2050, maybe 70 to 80% of the world population will have water scarcity issues, which means that we'll have water, but not at the times that we are used to having water. So if you want to take a shower at 8 o'clock in the morning, that might not be always possible. So I think that if we involve women and if we really take it seriously, because, I mean, quite often it's said if we involve women, we will be able to achieve the SDG 5 and 6. But one of the things that is not looked at is finances. I mean, if we don't have any finances for women organizations, women projects, and to really involve women, then I think that we will not achieve it. But I mean, we're not we are not getting there yet, but I think that if we join hands, we definitely will have to achieve 5 and 6 in 2030.
Thank you very much for that, Mariet Verhoef-Cohen. Thank you for being our best on Perspective. That was very interesting.